just for you to see the future, our vision, the way we've seen it as Tongston. You're here, you learn quite a lot of things to come valuable to all of your beneficial educator wherever you are all over the world. Tongston, yeah, an award-winning leading Pan-African group in finance, media, business, enterprise rather than business. Achieve sustainable socio-economic development. Also, we believe entrepreneurial thinking should be personal, professional, and public life. Successful and happy for creating. So we believe entrepreneurial thinking, and while you're on this call throughout the period of your now, what you'll be learning is entrepreneurial, how you can apply it to make yourself valuable, make yourself a. We're hearing from quite a lot of number of people for the next few hours, 1 hour, including our award-winning CEO, of our alumni and colleague, on our to make yourself influential. We also want to make a shout out on this call. We have our alumni development and peace center, Bayero University, Yobe State University Commission, Dangote, Wuse, and in top organizations, even Dangote. So you'll be hearing from to the fact that while you're two surveys, introduce the CEO very briefly. Put in the feel it like it is for the end. Another would please go them again. It is for Miss Fatima Aliu, also Entrepreneurship Group, also introduction to entrepreneurship education course as well. On Maba, consultants, entrepreneurship holdings, foundation, AV, African Finance Corporation, to one of our product. What they are trying to do is help you see the future with those products and to more like say, and how you can leverage it to development of Engineer Bello, which so just to talk about engineering, production, design and innovation executive director, is the officer of Tongston Entrepreneurship. Is a top, sorry, apologies, is a top conferred by Global Forum in GFL. Ask that you turn on your videos, but if it's going to affect, but if you can't, please turn on your video of your mic. Actions at a point, videos be turned on so that we can. I believe you. Without further ado, I would want to the button. I'll call it Engineer Bello Tungle. Have you, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Promise, and I'm very indeed glad to be here and happy to share this platform with all the teachers that we have here. Today, we are reimagining and reinventing the future of schooling, learning, and teaching through entrepreneurial thinking. And I know most of you have heard about critical thinking, you've heard of things like creative thinking, but what Tongston has been doing in the past few years and has done a lot of research and development in and put into practice is something called entrepreneurial thinking, but also for the sake of the audience that we have here, entrepreneurial thinking in education, also known as entrepreneurial education. So this is going to be very informative in terms of this sort of practice of education that we've been doing for the past few years, and also to give you an idea of potentially where this could head to in the next 5 years, 10 years, because we are seeing such demand happening within the industry, especially from our graduates and also from our educational institutions. So here's the gist of today. I'm first going to go through an introduction of myself briefly, Tongston as well, and then we also get to know about you through one of you, of course, but also there's a chat box where obviously you guys can also put many of the information regarding yourself. Then I'm going to go through 3 important secrets, if I can call them that, towards the concept and also the practice of entrepreneurial thinking in education. And then finally, of course, I will show you how you can go about that, whether independently on your own or through maybe some other institutions, but also most importantly, if at all you want to venture through entrepreneurial thinking in education with Tongston. And then of course, I'll be able to clarify any question and answers that you guys have and any steps moving forward. What's most important at the end of today is that you, yourself, and in fact, even the institutions that you work for become highly valuable, highly influential, and also highly profitable, as quick, effortless, and affordable as possible. And I always say that action needs to be taken in order to see the results of whatever thing that Tongston provides, but also whatever thing that you guys venture into. So at the very important statistics, I don't know how many of you are aware of that. At the moment, we're in a time and in a place where around the world here in 2022, that there is very high unemployment, unemployability, and in fact, underemployment also with it amongst graduates. So these are the graduates that go out of your schools, they go into the labor market and all that basically in society. And they face this unemployment and unemployability, underemployment issues. I remember just making reference now to the picture on the bottom right a few years ago in Nigeria, where a lot of graduates were filled in a stadium trying to look for a job of just a few hundred people. And some of them unfortunately lost their lives. And what we are seeing right now is that that demand for employment is very high, and also it's a very much struggle. So if education, just as Nelson Mandela said, is supposed to be the tool to which we change the world, as you know, the world is run by human beings. So it means whatever education that we're providing them needs to meet that demand of society or of the world seeking for. So the most important question is, if that's the case, are we really educating? Can we really say that we're doing our jobs as educators? And also beyond that, when we look at the prospects of our graduates in terms of their employability, what are we really doing to ensure that that's a guarantee for them after education? Just a little bit about myself. We'll talk about these other items later on to answer the questions, but a little bit about myself. I spent the first 25 years of my life in education, growing, having so many experiences just to be a civil engineer. But of course, after graduating, coming back into Nigeria, that same issue of unemployment, unemployability, and underemployment I faced also. And so that gave me the realization that the biggest issue we have in Nigeria is not that there are not enough engineers or construction companies, but that employment needs to be handled, because not just for myself, my experience, but also among my colleagues and so many other youths I saw facing these same issues. So that propelled me into the next 10 years of post-graduation, of course, to try and fix the education system. So I had to go back, even as a civil engineer, go back to become an educator, a professional educator, taught in a school, primary, secondary school, and even beyond that, I did give a few insights and information and engagement with students of the tertiary level, all the way to the point of setting up Tongston, which is now what we're doing. And speaking of what we're doing, Tongston basically integrates education, enterprise, media, and finance so that people, organizations, and governments become highly valuable, highly influential, and highly profitable. So just a few highlights about what Tongston has been doing in the past few years, and also our credibility and our work, especially in education. We do exist as a group of 5 entities where we try to, or not just try to, but also we have really practically achieved education at the basic level, at higher education level, but also we've integrated it with media and investment into ventures that students create. This year, we hosted something called TIUC, that's the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education Summit, where we hosted a group of investors, a group of professionals, about 50 professionals from different industries and sectors came and spoke in terms of what it means, really, what the labor market, but also what industries are looking for. Beyond that, we had close to 1,000 delegates of audiences from around the world participating in this. One of the other important highlights of what Tongston does is investment in ideas. So imagine when your students, through the competition that we do every year in the TIUC event, imagine your students have ideas of themselves as future employees or ideas of businesses that they want investment for. We put all that investment into them, but also we bring in third-party partners and sponsors and other types of investors that key into what these students become annually, but also by the time they graduate from the school system. Something very important that we do also is affiliation with professional bodies so that we make sure that the industry standard, not just of education, but also of these different careers that students are going into, is very much in line with what we are doing. So from CPD UK to multiple chambers of commerce, and also Center for Education Innovation, especially for what we do, which is innovative. It's in line with very much what these organizations are doing, and we make sure that our standards are in line with what they are doing also. Finally, a very important thing that Tongston does is participating in so many international events, but also local events in Africa and also around the world, where in fact we've been awarded so many different awards in education, but also in innovation. Myself also have received a few of those awards, and it's something that we continue to celebrate. Now that you know a little bit about myself, a little bit about Tongston, it would be good, I think, at this point, let me know more about you, but also to know more about your story and what you hope to gain from this, so that we make sure that this experience, not just for you, but for other participants here, is really worthwhile. So I'm going to pick randomly. I'm aware that these questions have been sent to you in advance. So I'm going through all the different participants here. Can I call on Mr. Olawole, Olatunde? This is just random, by the way. So we'll just go through these questions in the next 4 minutes or so. Mr. Olawole, Olatunde, if you can come on, hopefully, so that we engage and we know more about you, but also that knowledge hopefully represents other people here. Awaiting, or if he's not ready, Odike Simon. So I'll just be calling on random, by the way. And please, if this can be done quick so that we don't take too much of the 1 hour that we have this afternoon. If Mr. Olawole is not ready, Mr. Odike Simon.
Hello.
I see you've unmuted yourself. Yes.
Mr. Simon. Odike Simon is online.
Yes. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Tungle.
Yeah, good evening.
It's
so quickly,
yeah.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So what are you trying to achieve today, generally, and what's the goal for you?
Today, it is very important that we are discussing the in thing, that education is now metamorphosing to entrepreneurial skill acquisition. And that is exactly where our focus is, giving the student the desired skill for the future of job. That is what we want to achieve.
Okay. And why is this goal important? If you are able to help these students achieve this, why, I mean, what would that enable you to do or to have in 10 seconds, if you can?
Equipping these students with this skill will enable them to be independent and be on their own. And also, you agree with me that the future is not certain. So, and it's for those that are prepared that can actually get there. So we are equipping them for the future of job, and we'll be satisfied if this skill is impacted into them.
Yes, indeed. I agree, sir. It looks like you've answered question 2 and 3 together. So for you, what you hope to achieve is that if that result of the students being achieving their own goals after schooling or after graduation is achieved, then your own fulfillment, basically in a certain to a certain extent, is achieved, right? So that is for them, but also by extension, it's your own sort of satisfaction.
As a teacher.
And so number 4, if this goal that you're trying to achieve with the students and also by extension for yourself, what, and also to a certain extent, who are the typical obstacles or challenges that you face towards that goal that you're aiming for?
I think, like I said, the obstacle we have is having an enabling environment. You know, in Nigerian society, the curriculum we run and the type of examination we write is in contradiction with what we want the students to achieve. Because the exam bodies, the WAEC, the NECO, they have not been equipped for this yet. And we have a lot of things to cover in the curriculum. And if you don't harmonize well and you don't plan it well, the tendency of failing WAEC is there. Even if you have this skill, even if you're equipped with these skills, as long as you fail WAEC, you are not intelligent, right? That is what we have in here. So I think educating the examination body to understand that education is changing from just the cognitive to entrepreneurial to AI. Is very, very key to achieving this aim.
Yeah, I agree. And also, just to add to what you said right now, is also something that we've put into practice or into cognizance when we're trying to venture into entrepreneurial thinking education, which is that the curriculum aspect needs to be attained, or needs to be addressed, but also the assessment side needs to be addressed. And also, as we said, also this sort of environment needs to also be ready to achieve and absorb this. So quickly, in 10 seconds or 20 seconds, finally, what have you been doing so far to achieve this goal that you have set in terms of your students' performance, probably in the past or even currently?
Yeah, as a school, running a private school, a lot of strategies are being put in, a lot of facilities are being bought to prepare the students. We try to harmonize the two together. The students are not left on their own in cognitive, and they are not left on their own in achieving the skills. So we are blending the two together and we are getting it done. So the school is investing so much on it, but the government also has to come and assist the private school because so much is being done. So much is being done. A lot has been spent to get these students to where we want them to be. So as a school, we are doing our best to equip the students with the skills.
Yes, indeed. I agree, sir. And also, in fact, I will talk a bit more during the Q&A session in terms of also such challenges that you are facing, that we are faced, and also how we've been able to address it, especially by providing this new way of thinking in education. And thank you very much. I think I have just 15 minutes to go through all of this, the information that I have. Of course, I will do the best that I can. Now that we know each other, let's move forward now. So into the secrets right now of, or actually before I do that, there is a lot of communication going on in the chat box so that in case if I don't mention anything, you can make reference to that. The team is also informing you guys on the side. So not everything will come from myself. Especially the survey and there are other things. So quickly now, we've addressed objective number 1 or gist number 1. Gist number 2 is in terms of the 3 secrets to the concept and practice of entrepreneurial thinking in education. So what it aims to do, or the concept of it, is basically trying to connect what's being demanded for by industry, by the society, by government, and by the professional bodies or even employment market versus what you are supplying as educators and also as school owners. And also this, in order for this to really be achieved, one has to look at all the value chain that is existing in the education space. So from the student all the way up to the government. And this is what we're going to look at right now. Entrepreneurial education being almost like the bridge between the two sides of demand versus supply. So the first most important stakeholder, of course, in the value chain of education is the student. In this case, I've tried to exemplify it by a student called Zain Dubi. So for him, he's basically expected to be the end product of education, right? So every type of performance expectations, whether independently or collaboratively, is being required or being demanded for in him or her. In this case, is a male student. But the reality is what? That expectation is not being provided for within the school system, within lessons and all of that. In fact, it's only to a minimal level, but once they graduate, they realize that actually society or life is demanding more from them than what they got in the school system. The next most important stakeholder is the educator himself. So in this case, most of you here, in this case, we have Mr. or Miss Porter. And for them, the expectation is that they provide every career or professional competence that the child needs through instructions, through resources, and also through feedback. But the same thing is there, the same problem, which is that the reality doesn't meet that demand that is being looked out for. And at the same time, the performance, almost like the performance of the students, is what's affecting the society, saying that the teacher, or even the school saying that the teacher hasn't done his job well or hasn't done his job right. Next most important stakeholder is the school. And in this case, we have ABC School. So for them, of course, the expectation is that they provide the environment and policies and everything to accommodate both the student or the learner and the educator or the teacher. The gap here that we see is that they don't really provide enough to house what the expectations of the student and the teacher are, which is similar to one of the things that Mr. Simon just said right now. Next most important stakeholder are the parents of the child, of Zain in this case, so Mr. and Mrs. Dubi. For them, of course, they are the ones that pay the school fees, and they expect that the child should be able to meet the expectations of the home, of the family. But also one important thing is that they expect that the child, after education, he should be able to get a job, maybe start a business, make money and all those kind of things. But as you know, many of graduates right now, they are 25 years old and even some are 30, but still living in their homes and meeting the expectations of the parents. Next most important stakeholder is the employer, which is the person that will employ Zain when he graduates. And this is something that we've seen even during TIUC, that industry are saying graduates are unemployable simply because they don't have what industry and what sectors are looking for in them. And so that becomes the reality of for them, is that the talent is not really there or meeting the expectations of the industries that exist in or the markets that they serve. The next most important stakeholder in the value chain at the top is the government, which Mr. Simon has also made reference to. In this case, we have United City as a case study where they provide the policies and they provide regulation, but also they expect that citizens or youths and graduates should meet the expectations of society, building a society, community development and governance, and etc. Now, moving on, this is where to say now that secret number 2, after secret number 1 has shown you that the connection is what entrepreneurial thinking needs to meet. Secret number 2 is to clarify 2 things, which is entrepreneurial thinking and also to clarify entrepreneurial education. Now, I think someone is unmuted, but let me go on so that it's not distracting. So secret number 2 is that entrepreneurial thinking is not really only about jobs or only about business. Now, this is some misunderstanding that that we tend to see, and we tend to, we've seen people have, which is that in a job sorry, let me just clarify one important thing. These graduates that we're talking about, these students that we are housing in our school system and in our education, they go out to either set up a business or some of them go into jobs and employment, right? But the ones that go into the job or employment, what we see is that they go and practice whatever career that they have learned in the school system in someone else's enterprise or someone else's organization. But if entrepreneurial thinking is put together with this category of people looking for jobs, they are not just achieving working their profession in someone else's organization, but they are also pushing to build ideas that improve the value, improve the influence, and improve the profitability of that organization. What that does is that it puts them almost apart from the general category of applicants, but also colleagues that they have within the labor market. And this is something that is very highly driven by entrepreneurial thinking. These three things: value, influence, and profitability. And it's something that stands one person from the other, but also puts one company aside or in competition with another organization or another company. And this is what we've seen even in the government, on the government side of things, which is that governments or countries that are more valuable, more influential, and more profitable than others, they are the ones that get the most traction in terms of everything in life, but also advantages and leverages in the world. Now, if the student decides to go down the route of business, what that means is that they work or they practice their own profession in their own enterprise for profit. But the entrepreneurial thinking side of business is that, or entrepreneurial thinking side of entrepreneurship means they are pushing those three same things that we've talked about, which is value, influence, and profitability. Beyond everything that they do in their profession, in that enterprise, they are pushing for how valuable can my business be, how influential can my business be, and how profitable my business can be. This hopefully is what will help clarify the difference between entrepreneurial thinking and entrepreneurship and every other thing that we tend to hear around the space. Now, towards entrepreneurial education or entrepreneurial thinking in education, typically the ones that go down the route of starting up a business, the ones that go down the route of getting a job, they get their degrees and education and get a degree. Some venture into postgraduate studies, they learn postgraduate studies, but also they get to learn how to put up a CV and present it for employment. Now, the entrepreneurial education side of it not just achieves these three levels of learning, it also almost provides something like an MBA type of learning for the students. It also gives them a learning of through industry experience, but very important also, they get to learn from a rich network of people that exist in those industries that they are looking for. Those are the ones going for the job route. The ones going for the business route, typically we see that they learn technical vocational skills, social media marketing, they learn about company registration and financing. But beyond that, the entrepreneurial thinking angle to it is that they not just achieve these three, they also get to learn about building brands, building products, and building businesses all together. They also get to learn through sectoral and industry mentorship. And beyond that, they get to learn how to pitch whatever that they have to the market and to potential investors and partners that they are looking for. Now, what we see also now, before I go into secret number 3, is that this is what we see education institutions, schools, whether private or public, mostly the private schools, but also what teachers are trying to achieve, which is that they try to achieve all the 10 to 20 core subjects, maths, English, science, and all of that in their school system, or in the time that they have, limited time they have. They try to achieve these days. Right now, you see STEM education, you see problem solving, 21st century skills, Bloom's taxonomy, vocational skills, and all of that. However, the problem is that they are always targeting standardized exams, which is like what Mr. Simon said earlier, the WAEC, the JAM, the NECO, and all of it. All of this is good, but it's targeting a limited level of performance, which is the standardized exam, as I said. But also it's so multiply, it's done very, very much in disconnection. And also you have a very limited time to achieve all of this. Sometimes it's too much for the students. The entrepreneurial side of things or entrepreneurial education side of things is what is going to now put this seamless but easier to achieve. And that is secret number 3, which is that rather than having all these multiple subjects independently done in the school system, targeting standardized exams, what happens in the entrepreneurial thinking model is that all those subjects, all those competencies that we looked at right now in the previous slide are integrated into one experience. So they're achieving all of those 21st century skills, multiple intelligence, emotional intelligence, but only through one experience. And I'll talk about that experience in a bit. Beyond that, they are also learning from real industry and job activities within the same school system or within the same subjects and learning that they're doing in their classrooms, and even sometimes outside of the classroom. Beyond that, they are learning those competencies that I talked about earlier, which is talking to stakeholders, talking to their markets, talking to investors and partners that they are going to serve or that they're going to work with in the future. All of this they're doing in one experience, which is what the experience is that they are being taught through projects and experiences that push them towards thinking, creating, and selling ideas that are for their personal interest, for their professional interest, but also for public interest, all in one single experience. That is what the model presents. In just in case if you are thinking about the practicality of it, but of course, as I said, I will talk more about this in the Q&A if at all the questions arise. Next, we look at, I just have a few minutes, but in terms of competencies that the students get to achieve when we assess them. Now, assessment is going to be done in different ways beyond just the standardized exam process. And the things that we target to aim, or that we aim to achieve in terms of their performance are things in their professional capacity. So whatever thing that they're going or aiming towards, whether it's medicine, engineering, law, and all of it, we make sure that we check it within the assessment process. We also check their level of competence in business, science and tech, mathematics, and all the usual subjects. Beyond that, we also check their competence in terms of the economy of where they exist, in terms of leadership management, financial literacy, very important, and also how to negotiate, market, and sell. Beyond that, also, there are so many other competencies that we assess them based on. But remember, as I said, the assessment is beyond just the standardized exam process. There are so many different other ways that we check these processes. Very important advantage to this model is that it sits very well integrated into any curriculum that exists. So whether you're doing a British curriculum, American curriculum, whatever thing you're doing, Nigerian curriculum, this has been really fully developed to integrate completely and seamlessly into anything that you're doing in your school systems, but also in anything that you're doing as a maths teacher, as a science teacher, and etc. And also the other important advantage to this is that we practice this in Tongston through our different other ventures, but we see it being practiced through our partners and affiliates and etc. Just before I bring in some of my colleagues and also test cases that will talk about the experiences with these programs that we do. Remember, I said you can do this on your own with other institutions, but also we are pushing for how you can also achieve it with Tongston. Easiest way to do it if you're an educator is through TIUC, which is the highlighted portion here in yellow. And this is just a 3-day course if you want to start up into the journey towards entrepreneurial thinking in your educational practice. There are bigger courses like TIUC that you see there, but also one for professionals, which is the Entrepreneurial Thinking Masterclass. If at all it's your students that you want to have direct acquisition of entrepreneurial thinking capacity, they can try the CBA, which is the Career and Business Advisory Session that we do seamless with them, and we've practiced it in the past. And also beyond that, if it's a big package that you really want and you don't want all the stress of this TIUC and the other smaller packages, you can do the full school consulting, which is where we train your teachers, we redesign your curriculum, but also we get to put in all these practices of career and business competencies for the students directly. But as I said, these are just different ways of you venturing towards entrepreneurial thinking with Tongston. A few of the testimonials are here, but I think it's best that some of them come in because we did eventually absorb some of the teachers that have put this into practices in their professions, but also they are about to give you just a bit more information about this. So I'm going to hand over to Fatima, who is one of our beneficiaries and also a practitioner of entrepreneurial thinking in Tongston, to then give us our own side of things. I'm going to come, by the way, at the end of it to answer any Q&As that you have. So Fatima, over to you.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good morning, depending on where we're speaking to us from. Thank you so much, Mr. Bello. It's always refreshing to hear about entrepreneurial thinking in education. For those people who don't know me, my name is Aliu Fatima. I'm a proud alumni of Tongston Introductory Entrepreneurial Education course, which is TIUC for short. I took TIUC in 2021, and since then it has been very amazing. a lot of teachers like to talk about, what their role is in terms of impacting knowledge, in terms of reshaping the curriculum and applying concepts. Yeah. Okay. Hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah, sorry, I'm using my
Yes,
mobile.
go ahead. We can hear you,
Okay,
Fatima.
thank you.
Yes.
Yes, so I kind of lost myself somewhere, but I will just continue. So very early in 2021, I took the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education course, and it was very life-changing because for me, I would like to call myself fortunate. I was a recent graduate of education. I actually have a 2-1 in education from University of Benin, and the first thing that just entering into the job market, I was able to take the course early on, and this really helped me map out my future career. It also helped me put things in perspective in terms of what my value proposition was to my employer, my school, my society, and so on and so forth. A lot of teachers, when they talk about upscaling or when they talk about continuous professional development, they kind of lose themselves rather. They lose themselves in the whole concept because they really don't know where to begin. And for those teachers who are wondering, where can I begin? Where can I begin to be a better version of myself? I think TIUC is a very good place to start. And I remember when I took it in January, it was a lot more expensive than it is now. I think now it's about $50 or so, which is very good because I know the Tongston community is trying to give back to the society and trying to really help teachers just really put themselves on par with other professionals, because kind of almost all teachers are looked down on. When you compare, let's say, a teacher to another profession like a doctor, they kind of look down on us, and they look down on us because we, for some reason, we do not invest the funds to really get ourselves to where we want to be. So TIC was a very good experience. I made a lot of connections. There's a lot of people that I met that were still friends. In terms of pedagogy and teaching and learning skills, a lot of that was covered in the course as well. But most beautifully, I think the way entrepreneurial thinking is woven into the curriculum, into assessments, learning objectives, that was really the best part for me. And I think a lot of people who are wondering why, as a teacher in a school, you can't negotiate a better salary, or a teacher, you're setting up your own learning center, and you really don't know what would be your value proposition or what will set you apart from your competitors. This is a very good place to start. So thank you so much, Mr. Bello, for having me on the call. And thank you so much, teachers. It's like I said, it's always proud to be among my own. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Fatima. I think there's a video that also talks about TIEC. So let me just quickly play it. It's not long. And then Halima will also come in a bit.
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I've been working
Great. Thank you so much for that, Fatima. I think that was a very interesting account from Fatima. My name is Halima Ibrahim Abba. I am the consultant CEO and CFO of Tongston Entrepreneurship Group of companies. I also am one of the faculty members for the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory session that you'll hear a bit more about shortly. Just to put everything into context, I think after Fati's very heartfelt commentary on what TIUC has meant for her, really the Tongston Introduction to Entrepreneurial Education is your first step into learning what entrepreneurial thinking is in the context of education. It is for educators all over the world, it's for professionals, it's for entrepreneurs, it's also for students at all levels of education. So it's really not an educator-only program, but given today we're talking to our wonderful teachers all over that are listening to us wherever they are, we just really want to emphasize some of the benefits that will accrue to you as an educator. It is online. It's done live on Thinkific. You get to meet, our award-winning faculty, which includes Engineer Tungle. It is a 3-day course, so it's very short. It's very flexible. It's 2 hours, 30 minutes every day. So it's something that you can definitely integrate into your existing very busy schedule. It's, you also be able to access accredited certification, not just by Tongston Entrepreneurship Institute, but also CPD UK, which has 25 years experience accrediting, various content, all over the world. They've accredited from very amazing organizations like the University of Oxford, Cambridge, which I actually am an alum of, proudly, and also UMani, London School of Economics, London Stock Exchange, amongst very many other professional development organizations. As I said, it's for educators, professionals, entrepreneurs, and students. So I won't speak too much about that. Now, I think in addition to what Fati said, just to bring everything together, some of the key things she talked about was the opportunity to be able to experience a different mindset, to have her capacity built as an educator. So when she walks into the classroom and she's engaging with her students, she's thinking about how best to be able to ensure that the learning that they're getting in the classroom can help them transform to become, as it was said earlier by the CEO, and also promise valuable, influential, and profitable, which is what all of us are seeking for ultimately, to be very successful in what we do, but also be valuable in our community, support the development of the landscapes, the communities we're in, whether we choose to run our own businesses or we choose to work for an organization, whether public, private, or non-profit. Of course, all of that requires you to have very immense amount of skills. Skills are the new currency. We've seen statistics from the OECD and other very important organizations that have said that 50% of the global population will require upskilling and reskilling by 2025. That's not very far away.
Okay, Halima is rejoining in a little bit, actually. I think her internet just fluctuated a little bit, but she was talking about how we've seen that these are the sort of this issue of employment and unemployability and cases that we're seeing, even not just in Nigeria, actually, but around the world. So many of the skills that we are putting for the students is something that really much is not really connecting in terms of when they go into their work environment and they're trying to practice this in employment, but also when the ones that try to set up their own businesses fail because those competencies are really not there. I think Halima is back now, so let me just hand back over to her.
Apologies, internet connection issues. Yes, exactly, Engineer Tungle. So, I mean, those skills are soft, academic, 21st century work skills, all of which, the educators will learn for themselves, because it's important that you have it yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. But then also, secondly, to be able to integrate that into, the learning and development in the classroom for the students. Our educators have also seen increased income, career change in a very positive manner. They've been able to also access numerous products and services that Tongston offers across the multiple group of companies. And as CEO said earlier, we did have the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education Summit 2022 this year. They have over 1,000 delegates across 54 countries. So there's also an opportunity for educators, to be able to pitch, themselves, at TIUC 2023, which is happening next year, in September 2020. And then also other things that we have seen is that, as Fatima said, you're able to network, you also gain recognition through this accredited certification. You have the opportunity to learn with your peers, because really what we are is a representation of also who we know and what we've learned through, the networks and the experiences we have. So that peer-to-peer learning element amongst educators is extremely critical. And then, of course, if you want to continue the journey, which we hope, you can also access the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education course, which is a more deeper 8-week course that the CEO said, where you can really deep dive into entrepreneurial thinking and also entrepreneurial education. The modules and the learning objectives that you have cover, thinking about your mindset, understanding, using the concepts of neurology and psychology to understand the needs of your students and what it will take for you to help them meet those needs through the subjects or the subjects you're delivering or the learning they're gaining. Understanding even their motivations in pursuing whatever it is that they're pursuing and how you can enable them meet that, but also for yourself as well, which is very important. And then you thinking about the demands of society. I think CEO said that, if somebody is an entrepreneur, You need to know what your customers want. What do they demand? And how are you, through that business you're offering, enabling them meet that need? And then similarly, if you're an employee, like you're an educator in a school, how are you meeting the needs of the school? You know, what the school expects you to do, and also what the learners need for them to be successful in life. And then lastly, also all of the different skills that we talked about, and understanding the concepts of Bloom's taxonomy, 21st century skills, to really be able to effectively design your lesson plans to ensure the highest order of thinking is achieved, so that young people can use the content that they have learned into implementing, and applying and being able to create things, as opposed to just understanding and cramming, which is what we tend to see in a number of educational settings. TIUC has been very successful. We have 167 large alumni globally from 51 participating organizations of different kinds, both in the public space, in the school space, as private sector as well. And many of them, you can see the stats have explained how this has really helped them perform better as educators, or better as employees, or better as entrepreneurs, or better as students. So the impact is very widespread and is very clear. And we encourage you and also advise you to be able to participate in this movement and also be able to benefit same. Our clientele is very mixed, as you can see. Various organizations like Uncle Sugar, the South Catholic School, A1 Academy, several organizations all over that have been able to really benefit from this and have seen the impact. I mean, I won't go through all of this because I think I've spoken a lot to it, that it can be applied in many contexts and many settings. I think we have a few pictures of happy faces, including Fatima, which you can see up there, where she's collecting her certificate, amongst other alum that we've seen. The alumni base is also very diverse. We have people from various subjects and walks of life that are being able to participate. Over time, we have some wonderful testimonials that will be queued up shortly as well on the screen, just to show you what TIUC is. And if you're convinced, which I hope you are, then you can also access this in the chat box. There is a link that has been presented for you to be able to sign up for TIUC. It just costs $50, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, or if you're in Nigeria, it costs 20,000 naira. And up to 31st of December, we are giving a discount of 10%, it's just one-time discount. So you should definitely try to grab this and be able to benefit from, this wonderful opportunity. So hopefully we hope to see you there, and for you to also be one of these very happy faces that we saw very shortly. Yes, I mean, the next thing also that I would like to talk about is the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory session. But before I start, I will just let a video be played and just give it a minute, and I'll come back. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I've been working. Today, I'm a successful social media manager. If you are between the ages of 11 to 17, thinking about your future career, and you can't help but notice that there is nothing in your school's curriculum to guide you, sign up for the Tongston Career and Business Advisory Session to help you navigate your future career and business path.
Hello.
Okay, great. Sorry. So I was actually speaking on mute. Apologies. So thank you very much for that. I think all of you have seen Andrew speak about how he's a successful social media manager at 12, which almost sounds a bit strange for many of us in our own time. But the world has become so competitive that it's extremely important that young people chart their paths very early on and are very clear about what they want to do, and they're deliberate about it. And I can personally speak for myself as a faculty member for the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory Session, that I have had a very deliberate set of steps to get to who I am today. I would consider myself very successful as a development professional, having been running a nonprofit organization, which I think is quite successful, with over 50,000 people that have benefited from it all across the continent of Africa, but also other places around the world. I work for a leading development finance institution as an associate vice president. I also support Tongston as a consultant. I am an advisor, I'm a mentor. I have over 13 years experience. I sit on several boards, several memberships, graduated with the first class, made my first million when I was 19, had my first job when I was 8, believe it or not, and my first paying job when I was 15. So all of these things are not by mistake. You know, they're deliberate things that I have done to be able to get to where I am. And I think this is exactly what the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory Session does. It enables young people between the ages of 9 to 18 to be able to have the opportunity to have a flexible 21st century learning experience where they can chart and work towards a sustainable career or business path. So very important for them to be clear about what path they want to follow, whether it's by industry or whether they want to become an employer or an employee of labor, whatever path they choose, it needs to be clear very early on, very deliberate and focused, and then they need to work towards that. So that's what the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory Session does. It is a series of sessions over 5 to 8 days. It's for kids in upper primary schools around the world or elementary school, whichever the jurisdiction you're in, and also secondary school or junior, middle. And then also
Hello.
okay, I'm back. Apologies.
Okay.
Oh dear. The internet is a bit of a mess today. If you allow me to pull up the slides again, apologies everyone. Technology is failing us today. So yes, setting up smart goals, but then also thinking about their personal finance. Very important, the kids have financial literacy at a very young age. Their productivity schedules, their development plans. What do they need to become that doctor they want to be? What do they need to become the educator they need to be? What do they need to become the next, Dangote that they, aspire to be? Very important for those plans to be put together. And then they will get the unique opportunity to pitch those plans at TIUC 2023 next year, which is super exciting. And they get access to follow-on sessions from us to be able to follow through to see how well they're doing. Their parents are involved to the extent that is possible, and their guardians, because it's very important that the parents are part of the conversation. The schools are involved, the educators are involved, because we want this to be a co-collaborative process where we're all working together to help create the young people we want to be successful, to be valuable, profitable, and influential in life. They get to access all of us as the faculty members, myself and the CEO and other amazing people that we have in our faculty. It's flexible, as I said, it's also online, and it's very simple. They just get to sign up and get assigned to a cohort and then participate with all of us. The content we have is supported by several other organizations, so it's not just us, Skills Successful Foundation, ASDAN, which is a global brand that many of us I'm sure know about, Career Development Institute, CPTUK, the National Career Development Association. So lots of content that we've brought from various perspectives to really make sure that the young people, from your schools or your children or your students will be able to get the best. We also have several clientele across various organizations that have also been able to participate and benefit from this. Like I said, similar to TIUC, it's just $170, 75,000 naira, depending on where you are. And it's you also get access to 10% discount up to the 31st of December, should you use the coupon code that's also in the link. So if you want something for your young people, whether you're at upper primary or secondary level or even tertiary, because CBA also extends there, you can also access the Tongston Global Career and Business Advisory Session. So I really hope that you will take the charge and that you will participate in this, and you will give your students and also yourselves and your schools the real opportunity to be able to reimagine the future with all of us here at Tongston. So thank you so much, and I'll call upon my colleague Promise to take us through a short survey amongst other aspects. So over to you, Thomas.
It's been a wonderful 1 hour. So before we just let it go, it's already in the chat box. We dropped right now. So please just click for your learning and our learning as well. So please, if you can quickly just click the survey. There are just 5 questions in there. Thank you. When you've done, quickly help us write done, so we know you've done that. Questions, if you have any questions for or for Ms. Fatima, who has spoken earlier, you can also please like to take that now as well.
Yeah, thank you, Promise. Thank you for your awesome moderation. And we only have just about 5 minutes or so left. So any questions that have that had risen in the process, so let's just have them and quickly answer them while the participants were all filling in the survey forms and etc.
Yes, sir. We did receive question earlier. We were asked if entrepreneurial thinking is indicators. I don't know if Malima will help us with this
one. Not at all, actually. So, as I stated before, it's for educators, it's for entrepreneurs, as professionals like you and I in any industry. It's also for entrepreneurs, it's also for students at all levels. You know, it's really about people who are looking for, as I said earlier, looking for ways to chart their paths to success, to become valuable, influential, and profitable entities through the series of learning objectives that we already discussed. Of course, today we are met with amazing educators from all over. So of course we have to focus on our educators, but it's something that actually can be referred to any business owner that you think is trying to be deliberate about their growth for the purposes of their business success, or a student that is being deliberate about his or her growth for the purposes of his or her academic success, and similarly for any professional in any industry around the world that wants to be deliberate about their growth for his or her professional successes.
Yeah, we also did receive a question, and I believe that's what I'm asking the question. So we did also receive a question, entrepreneurial thinking, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, thank you, Promise. So entrepreneurship, as it's being put out at the moment, is just about building a business, but also pushing it another step level above, which is registering the business and making it to a big long. Oh, sorry, I lost my connection there. So entrepreneurship, as it's seen at the moment, is basically venturing into setting up a business, or sometimes conglomerates of businesses, and making profit at the end of it. But entrepreneurial thinking is not just about doing that, but pushing for high value, high influence, and high profitability for that enterprise, but also high value, high influence, and high profitability for your employees, and in fact, even for those beneficiaries or customers that you serve. So that is those 3 key points which we've been always hammering on: value, influence, and profitability. That is what sets apart entrepreneurial thinking from entrepreneurship. And also the other advantage of entrepreneurial thinking is that you can actually apply it even within employment. So it's something that is transferable, whether employment or through business. So that is what really stands out in terms of the two. Although they sound similar, but there is a difference between the two.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really exciting. So before I pass the baton back to you, so you get your more say closing remark on the call, that you'll be getting the link to this this session on our mail after now, on your mail after now. Please, contents for your learning, for your personal development, we shared with you. If you've not taken them, please also take time to Look, can you please let's hear from you, your final remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Promise. There's a lot that I can say to conclude this, but one important thing I would just like to say, final thought, is whether for yourself or for your organization or for your students, and in fact, beyond that, in fact, the three most important things, I will just hammer on them. How valuable are you? How influential are you? And how profitable are you? This is what will help you win in the game of life, but also what will help you stand out from the rest of the competition and whatever thing that you're really pushing for. And if you achieve these three key important attributes, other problems that you're trying to solve in your life, other things or needs that you're trying to fulfill in your life, and other challenges basically that you face or that you're trying to handle will be easier achieved and easier done. And in fact, it goes beyond not just you, but also it serves the bigger community as a whole. Obviously, there are more information and detail that involve entrepreneurial thinking or entrepreneurial education, which is impossible to achieve within this 1 hour or 30 minutes that we've had today. And so on that note, I also urge that people do venture into it through Tongston, but also venture into it through all the different informations that we put out on our social media handles, blogs, and etc. Because it is something that takes time to absorb, but also it takes time to really put into practice. However, once that is done, it's very transformative, and we've seen this happening with all our beneficiaries and also other people, in fact, even the team that we work with at the moment. So this is what I would just like to, so it's more of a word of encouragement, and also looking forward to really seeing you guys pitch your ideas next year in TIUC 2023, and also looking forward to seeing your students pitch their ideas also, and looking forward to your schools also pitching their ideas at TIUC 2023, whether for investment, for partnership, sponsorship, or even recruitment. We're very much looking forward to it, and I do encourage you, and good luck to that on that path.
Thank you so much, sir. I think a lot has been. Like I said, the videos will be shared. Please go back and revisit learning and and also action is very important. Most important up to now. We all can afford it, so there's no reason to see you on our next course here of TI students, and your being valuable, influential. Can you please, everyone on the call, a minute so we can take that selfie at the beginning of the call? Yeah, just turn on your video. Yeah, you're almost out of here.
Okay, so we're taking a group selfie now, right?
Yes.
Promise. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I just need everyone. Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Thank you. Well done.
I'm still waiting for this. Please turn on your video. Except you're not in the. Let's say we give you to move around and get that done.
Okay, are we set? Promise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Hold on a second. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
And I think, Promise, any other questions that may arise even after this 1 hour session can be emailed to us so that we answer. And because, as I said, this 1 hour is not always enough to digest all the information. So email info@tongston.com for any inquiries or whatever thing that you may want to ask further to this. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Questions as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ola. I see you. Thank you, Omi. Thank you, Mr. Simon. And yeah, every other person. Thank you.